This is a demonstration of Thrive landing pages, and the purpose here is I want to show you a very practical example of how you can use Thrive landing pages to create a 100% custom designed page. So you're really not tied to the page templates that you already find in the plugin. Hello, I'm Shane from Thrive Themes, and I'll be showing you and walking you through this demonstration. So this was based on a request that we got. Someone sent us this landing page here and said, hey, I would love to have a template like this. I'd love to be able to make a page like this in Thrive landing pages. And this is a landing page that was created by Troy Dean from WP Elevation. And it is a very nice looking landing page. So we've got this landing page right here. It has a two-step opt-in process like this. We've got a video, we've got a lot of interesting elements, and it's just an overall really nicely designed page. And so when I got this request, I thought, well, indeed, this is a great page, but you know what? You can already build this. Like everything you need to build this page is already available in Thrive landing pages. You don't actually have to wait for us to build a template like this. So what we'll do here is we'll start with this blank page on a WordPress site that has Thrive landing pages installed, and we've opened this in the Thrive content builder. We go to Thrive landing pages, we click on choose landing page, and we just pick a template to start with. Now we could pick a template that already looks kind of similar, but what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to pick a really minimal template. All I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the template I pick is a two-step template already. That saves a bit of work, right? But I'm going to pick this landing page here and load it. And this is deliberately a landing page that doesn't look similar to this one at all, because I really want to show you that you can build this stuff from scratch and you can customize everything. So let's get started. Well, at the top here, we have a dark background and this WP Elevation logo in the middle. And by the way, I'm not going to create like an exact replica of this. I'm just going to eyeball it. So for example, we have this top section. This is a page section. You could also insert this if it wasn't there yet. And I simply go to the color options, and I'm just going to pick, a darkish, almost black color. I'm not going to exactly, find out what color that is and so on. You could do that, but I'm just going to eyeball it to keep this video a bit shorter. Okay, we also have a logo image here. This is just an image. We're going to center align it, and then we're going to click on change image. This takes us to the WordPress Media Manager. Here you can upload, you can drag and drop files in here to upload them. I've already done that to save some time. So here's the logo we want. It's not the right size yet. So let's say it's maybe 240 pixels wide or so, something like that, right? So we can easily change the size by entering a value here or using this slider. And so we set the size. Another thing that you might want to do and adjust here is the margins. So, maybe I want a bit more space at the top here, a bit more space at the bottom, maybe something like this. And this is what we get. All right, so that's, an equivalent of the very top of the page here. Next, we have this blue background section. So let's get started with that. We'll go to page sections, drag that in here, and then click on the page section to edit it. I'm going to do two things. First, I'm going to change the background color of this page section to, a darkish blue, maybe like this. I'll explain why in a second. Because the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a background image. And I've already uploaded this one. Set this background image, which completely covers the background color. Another thing I'm going to do, by the way, if you see this here, when I scroll, the background image stays static, right? And we can also replicate that, no problem. Click on this page section and I go static image. And now we'll have the same effect. When you scroll through the page, the image is static in the background. Now, the reason I added a background color and then the image on top is because when someone comes to this page with a slow internet connection, the background color will be visible immediately, but it might take a few seconds for the background image to load. And I want to make sure that we're going to have white text here. And if we have a blue background color that loads immediately, the text will be immediately readable. Whereas if we have a light background color, then some people might have to wait until that background image loads before they can actually read this text. Now let's have this title. So first I'm going to select the text that's already in here and turn it into a heading, an H1 heading. And I'm going to center align it, and I'm going to make it white, text color, white. Here we go. I'm also going to make it bold, and I'm just going to copy all this text here, the heading text, and then paste it in here like this. And already we have something quite similar, but as you can see, two things that stand out to me. Again, we're only going to eyeball this. I'm not going to try and make an exact replica. Two things that stand out to me. The heading here is larger and it has more line height. There's more space between the two lines than here, right? So let's make those changes. We select this font size. Let's try 45. It's closer. And then line height. Here, I'm actually going to change this to EM. And EM is a relative line height. I prefer working with this, and that's too much, so maybe 1.3. That's about right, okay? So there we go. We've got the same kind of heading, and the next element is this content box. And what we want is, we want one without a headline. We want a very simple one, and I think style 6 here is pretty good for that. So this looks horrible in red, of course, but we click on the content box, and we start changing the colors. So we want a white background, simple enough. And we also want a white border because we don't really want a border at all. So it's all white now. Next, we want to have a border radius because just a slight one. As you can see here, we've got a slight rounded border. And as you can also see here, there's a shadow. There's a bit of a box shadow here. And we can do that too. So we go back into the color options. And for shadows, we want an external shadow. And you can see it right now, we see a very strong shadow. Now, what I recommend to do with shadows is use black. Black is usually a good choice for a shadow color, but just change the opacity. So you want to make it a very subtle black. So maybe, 15%. Because we don't want to have, this is a nice subtle effect that just slightly lifts that box visually. And we don't want an in-your-face, look at me, I'm a shadow kind of effect. Next, let's go for the content inside this content box. And as you can see, we've got two columns. One of them has text and a bullet point list in it. The other has a video and a button. So we'll start by getting a column layout, 2 columns, dropping it in here. And we can get rid of this paragraph here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this text and paste it in here. And then you can see right away that the text is too small. It's much larger on this page. Now, one of the things I could do is I could just select this text and change the font size here. However, if we look at this page, we can see that all of the, let's say, paragraph text, the body text, all of it is larger, right? The text here is also larger and so on. So instead of changing an individual paragraph, I can go to landing page settings and landing page fonts. And here I can change the paragraph font size. And it's something like 24 pixels probably, right? Let's see, that looks about right. Line height is a bit too much right now, so let's change that to maybe 28, something like that. Okay, so now we've just changed paragraphs in general, and I don't have to go and edit each individual one. Next, we have a styled list with check marks. So we add this, close enough to being the same thing. We change the color here to this. Oh, that was the wrong thing. I just changed the color of this point here. Actually, let me get rid of this one anyway. I want to make sure that I select the whole bullet point thing so I can change the color of this icon. That's what I wanted to go for. And then, okay, same thing again, right? I copy this text and I paste it in here. And we also have a bolded part. So I select this part, make it bold. And then to save time, I'm just going to duplicate this, right? I'm going to go duplicate. And, I could copy the other ones, but you get the idea. I'm also going to duplicate this paragraph here, drag it to the bottom. And then, again, we have a line of text. I'm going to copy it, paste it in here, make the bold part bold. There we go. That's the left side replicated. Now, on the right side, we have a video. So let's scroll down and get the responsive video embed. Drop that in here, get rid of the text. Now I'm just going to grab, you could either use Vimeo or YouTube embeds right here. I'm going to do a YouTube embed, or you can embed anything using a custom HTML element. So that would be further up in the list here, we have custom HTML. That's also something you can use to embed videos. I'll just grab one of our YouTube videos, put it in here. We want to hide the related videos at the end. We want to hide the player controls maybe. Hide the title bar. You can also make it autoplay. I think on this page it autoplays. You can do all that, tweak all those settings, no problem. I'm going to get the button. Now, this is one of the reasons I kept this stuff here is we already have a button on this. Actually, let's save the changes and look at the preview. In the original template that I loaded, even though it was a completely different template, we already have a 2-step process. And so we already have a button that opens up this Lightbox. And so we can also manually create that, but to save time, I'm just going to use this button right here. Okay, so I'm going to use this element from the template to save a bit of time. I'm going to change the button color, and this is our teal color. It's not exactly the same as this. You can go in, if you want to make an exact replica, you can go in, change all of these colors here manually, no problem. Again, to keep the video short, I'm not going to do that. Then one thing I want to do is, you can see here, this is kind of misaligned, right? The text is up here and then the video is a bit further down. Looks a bit strange. So I click on the video and I remove that top margin. I set that to 0, and that makes a nicer alignment inside this box. All right, now if we look at this, there are a couple of things that we could still tweak. For example, the spaces above and below this heading. And also you see this line here. I mean, this is a small detail, but I want to show you how to create that. So let's get back into it. First of all, here, that's again a question of margins. I click on the heading and I go to margins and padding. And so maybe I want a bit less at the top, a bit more at the bottom, maybe even more. Right. And you can just adjust this, play around with it until you like what you see. But now let's look at this line. We can just use a page section for that because we want a line that goes across the entire screen. And that's the kind of thing that page sections are for. So I take a page section, I add it after this top section right here, and I'll give it the color that I want. And it's just going to be some shade of blue. Let me see, some light shade of blue. I'll try not to put too much work into getting this right. Something like this, yeah? Close enough. So I save that, and then I remove the content from within this page section. So I want to get rid of this. It's too thick now though. So I click on the page section, and once again we go into margins and padding. And we see that it has a top and bottom margins of 20 pixels each, or padding I should say. If I reduce this to something like 2 pixels each, there we go. We have a thin line at the top. So as you can see, we're getting pretty close to what this template looks like. So next up, let's go down here. We have a second section with some prizes. So let's go there. We have a heading. I'm going to copy this text, prizes up for grabs. And then we go here and we add a heading, right? We want some text here. And I think at this point, I don't need any of this original content anymore. So I'm just going to remove both of these columns, get rid of that. Okay, and then we have a heading here. We want to make that a heading 2. We should only have one H1 heading on the page. And I paste the text in here, prize up for grabs. And well, let's see, what else do we have? We want to make this larger. I think it's more like this maybe, probably also bold like this. The color is also not quite right. So let's select this and choose a darker color. Like this. I'm going to save it as a favorite because I want to probably reuse it again. There we go. Prize up for grabs. And then we have another line of text. And obviously you can write this text yourself. I'm just doing all this copy pasting here to save time and keep this video a bit shorter. So same thing here. I paste the text. I center align it. And now, okay, a couple of things. First of all, same thing here with the text. I'm going to select this, change the color, make it a bit darker like this. But you'll see that it's taking up too much space. So on this page here, you can see that there's like a line break here. Now, and it looks nicer because of that. Now, it would be a mistake to just say, okay, I'm just going to insert a line break here. Because on mobile devices on different screen sizes, it's going to start looking weird. So the thing we do instead is we use a content container. And we just drop that in here. I'm going to show you, I will drag the content we have into this content container. I'll get rid of this dummy content. And it squishes it up like this and puts it on the side, which isn't nice. But then I click on the content container, I center align this whole thing. And I change the width to something like 900 is my guess. And there we go. Now we have the same kind of effect, but it will look great on all mobile devices. It will always be center aligned. There won't be any weird line breaks and so on. Now, another thing is that, just again with spaces, right? We just have more space around this text. So I go here, margins and padding, make more space at the top, make more space at the bottom. You get the idea, right? We can play around with these details, but I don't want to spend too much time on that. Next, we have this bit. So we have a dotted border here, or a dashed border. And then we have this here. And what we have here is really just a 3-column layout, right? 3 columns, one with an image, one with text, one with more text. So let's get into it. First of all, borders, dividers, we call them. We have a divider style like this. It's pretty close, right? It's a bit much space at the top. Maybe go like this. And then we have 3 columns. So column layout, 3 columns go here. And now I want to show you something that's quite an important thing for your workflow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just do one of these rows of 3 columns first. So I'll add the image, select this, insert it. And even though this image spans the whole width here, I'm going to center align it, and you'll see soon why. And then we have some text. Now, you don't have to watch me type all this text, so I'm just going to cut to after I copy pasted all this. All right, so I pasted the text in here. We want to make a few adjustments to make this look nice. First of all, let's work on this last bit of text here that says valued at price. And so a few things. First of all, we select this and it's larger than the other text. So maybe this is more like 29 pixels or so. We make it bold and we make it a different color. And we also center align it. And again, you'll see in a moment why I'm center aligning stuff, even though it doesn't seem to make a big difference here. Another thing is that these don't look very nicely aligned with each other right now. And so we're going to, again, go and play with the margins and padding. We're going to remove the top margin here. We're going to add a bit of a top margin here. Maybe add 10 pixels here and here. And here is also a line height issue, I think. So to make this use up a bit more space and make it look a bit better here, let's change that to 32, maybe even more, 35, something like this. So it just looks nicer, right? Okay, so that's our layout done. And here's the reason why I did this one first, because now I can just duplicate this entire row of columns. So as you can see, if I'm in here, this would duplicate the image. But if I go from the outside, the border is around the whole thing. If I duplicate this, now I have the whole thing duplicated. And I'm going to skip past, I'd change the image, do all that, change the text. It's very simple, right? You click on the image, click on change image, select the other one, and I'll skip all that, right? You can see how that's just a faster way to get this kind of layout done. Another thing, again, margins, right? We can tweak this, make this look a bit nicer. It's maybe something like this. All right, and then now we get to the last section on the page, our partners. So what do we have here? This is a page section again. Light gray page section. So let's go down, get the page section, put it in here. And it is lighter gray, I think. So let's change that a bit like this. We have text that says our partners in all caps like this. And then with the logos here, there's 2 things you can do. You can upload one single image that's wide with all the logos, but for mobile devices, it's probably going to be better if we do a 3-column layout with these logos. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Once again, we add 3 columns and each column will have an image. So go image, 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 and we get rid of the text. So, okay. And then we add the media. So very simple, right? I select the logo and I'll just add all 3 images first. And you can see that we have a bit of a problem here. It doesn't look very nice, right? It's, again, like the sizes are different. It looks a bit weird. First of all, let's center line all of them. And this one, I'm going to center line them even if it's not really necessary. Then let's change the sizes. So this one's too big. Let's change it. Let's say 240 maybe. It's decent. And then I'll try making this one the same size to see what that looks like. 240. Okay, that's better. But they're still a bit out of line with each other, so I'm going to just bump this one down a bit. Maybe like this. And then it looks much nicer. All right, one last detail. We have another like border here. And to do that, we can copy the one we already created up here. Let me see if I can grab it and duplicate it. And then I'm going to carry this down and put it above this. Click on it and change the color to, well, a darker shade of gray would have to be. So slightly darker shade of gray, maybe like this. All right. All right, yeah, let's save our progress. Got a reminder there. Okay, and there we go. That is pretty much the page replicated. So let's save these changes again and look at the preview. So I could do more tweaking. Again, I hope you've seen, if we look at details, you probably see like, the spacing between elements is a bit different. But I hope you've seen with the example I've shown you that you can actually make all those changes. So the small differences you see between these pages are all differences that you can change depending on how much time you want to invest into tweaking small details. So let's preview this page. There we go. This is our replica landing page. And as you can see, it's really a very, very close match to the original. This is the original, and this is the one we built right now. And another really cool thing is that this is a mobile responsive page. So if I look at this on a smaller screen like this, everything readjusts automatically. You can see the text arranging, the elements arrange. One of the things I could do here is increase the line height because this breaks onto 2 lines. And here's where you see why I centerline these logos and centerline these images and centerline this text, for example, because even though at the full view, at the full width, it doesn't seem to make a difference, right? Whether this is center aligned or not. But on a smaller screen, it can, start looking a bit weird if this is not center aligned. In my opinion, it looks better like this. But that's just something to keep in mind. Like while you're editing in your full screen view, always keep in mind, what will this be like on a smaller screen? And sometimes that helps you make better decisions about the layout. Now, a last point about the page is that we have this 2-step lightbox. And I don't want to take too much time, but I just want to quickly show you. On our replica page, we have one as well. Doesn't look exactly the same. And the editing of this lightbox is the same story as we've just looked at. So you can go to the event manager, and here you'll see that it has an event. On click, it opens this lightbox, and I can click on edit the lightbox. And here I can, use exactly the same elements, all of the same tricks I just showed you to change what this lightbox looks like. For example, you can see here in this lightbox, we've got a progress bar that says 50% complete. That's something we can do. In this case, it's just an image actually, so you could upload an image, very simple. We have something even cooler actually. You can go to data elements and get a progress bar here, place that here, and then make some changes here. So we change the color first of all to match, to kind of match the rest of the page. And then we have data settings. So here it said 50% complete, so we can replicate that. Fill percentage is 50. Label font size is probably a bit smaller, maybe like this. And so this is how you can kind of create a progress bar. Now the cool thing is this progress bar will actually animate. So if we preview this, you can see when the lightbox opens, this will animate. And that makes it a bit more eye-catching. And yeah, everything else you see here, you can change the border and rounded borders, you can add icons, all that stuff. I think we don't have to go through that again. The video is already long enough. So with that, I hope you've gotten a good idea of how you can create 100% custom content, 100% custom landing pages, and how if you see a landing page you like, you go ahead and ask us, go ahead and recommend it to us and say, hey, here's a cool landing page. That's always good for us to see. But you can probably go ahead and build that landing page right away with the tools in Thrive Landing Pages and Thrive Content Builder.